What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and today there is literally no Yu-Gi-Oh news. You guys know normally there would be news for Yu-Gi-Oh on Tuesdays, but there was nothing, hardly anything. The only two things that I found were the full set list and the world premiere and the world premieres for Burst of Destiny and a new Xyz monster for Duels of the Abyss. So it got me thinking, what can I do? Simple? The answer? Simple. A deck profile. What is the deck profile? Probably one you would least expect out of me. Nordic God. You guys know there are three Nordic gods. There's Loki. I believe it is known. I believe it's the phrase the god of trickery, if I remember correctly. Whoa. Then you have Thor, the god of thunder, and then of course you got Odin, the father of all things. The father of all. I believe he's known as the father of all gods, if I remember correctly. But this is a pretty cool deck. This was actually inspired by none other than Shadow Realm Yu-Gi-Oh. Big shoutouts to him on Twitter, and he also has his own YouTube channel. I believe is Shadow Realm. Be sure to check him out, show him some love. And this deck was actually inspired by him. But his build, I believe, had more spells than I did, because this deck only has 5 spells, and they're only one-ofs, which I'll explain. Which I will explain once we get into the deck profile itself. And there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14 spells. Sorry, 14 traps, and then 15, 17, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, and 26 monsters. Yeah, that is the deck. That's the main deck. The extra deck is looking mighty nice, and then the side deck is looking even more nice as well. So I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna go straight into the deck profile. This is more of a, how can I put it? This is more so of like more of a control beatdown of sorts, where your main goal is to try to get out all 3 Nordic gods. That is your main goal. If you can get out all 3 Nordic gods, you essentially just win. If you summon cards like Zeus or even also cards like Decisive Armor or even Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you essentially just win, because those are what we call omni negates. What that means is that there are multiple ways you can use the negation, if you will, which is really cool, which is absolutely insane. So I'm not gonna waste any time. Let's go straight into it. First of the non-tuners, there are only 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 non-tuner monsters, and then the rest of the monsters are literally tuners. First up, for the non-tuners, we have 2 copies of Tier of the Nordic Champions. This is probably one of your main extenders of the deck, because the effect reads your opponent's monsters cannot target Nordic monsters for attacks except this card. If there are no other Nordic monsters on the field, destroy this card. So with this is basically your protection for the whole deck itself. So if you have any of the Nordic gods, you essentially, your opponent cannot target them for attacks, which is absolutely nuts. This is basically one of your main extenders of the whole deck itself, which is really cool. Next up, we have 3 copies of Alvis of the Nordic Alfar. I believe this was first seen in I want to say Savage Strike if I remember correctly. Either Savage Strike or Soul Fusion. It was one of the other. I don't remember. But this card is really cool because the effect reads: if only this card is banished by the effect of a Nordic Link monster, which could, i.e., mean Golveg of the Nordic Ascendant, you can send to the graveyard one Nordic monster you control and two Nordic monsters from your deck whose total levels equal 10, and special summon one Aesir from your extra deck. If an Aesir monster or monsters is in your possession and is sent to your grave by your opponent's card, you can banish this card from your grave, special summon one Aesir monster from the extra deck with a different name from the cards in your grave. You can only use this effect once per turn, or rather once per duel. The funny thing about this is that you're only using Alvis for its first effect. You're not using it for its second effect, because the second effect is because it's once per duel, meaning only one of the three can use the effect, can use the second effect. But also too, because that it's a 4-star monster, you can use it to go into any of your Nordic gods. And truth be told, there is another level 10 in the extra deck, or actually two but one's in the side, one's in the extra, that you can actually go into, which is really cool. But you can only go into those by one card, and one card only. And I'll explain once we get into the traps. So yeah, basically it's fodder for synchro summoning. Next up, we have 3 copies of Ivaldi of the Nordic Smiths. This is one of the new cards, I believe, coming out of I want to say Battle of Chaos. I believe this is supposed to come out. I believe this is supposed to come out in Battle of Chaos, I believe. So, if you guys don't know anything about Ivaldi of the Nordic Smiths, its effect reads: if you control a Nordic or Aesir monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Nordic relic card from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So not only is this a Cyber Dragon, but it's also Spell and Trap Rhoda, so you can add. So there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are actually 8 Nordic relics in the deck that you can go to, and each one is actually pretty powerful. So again, not only is this one of your Cyber Dragons for the deck, but it also helps you go into your level 10 synchro plays, or it can also go into your rank 4 plays if you have rank 4s. Truth be told, I actually have rank 4s in the extra deck, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Next up, we have 2 copies of Tangrisnir of the Nordic Beasts. This is kind of a cool one because this card is basically token summon. It's basically token spam. Because the effect reads: if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, special summon 2 Nordic Beast tokens, which are 3-star Earth Beast, 0 attack and defense. Yeah, basically if you have a Tangrisnir, I'll say a Tagnoster, and I'll say a Gulfax. That's a level 10. That's basically Thor. You summon Thor right off the bat. But funny enough, there are actually two tuners in the deck that can basically become any Nordic monster you have out there. Literally, it can be anything, and I'll get to that in a second. But next up, we have Tangosnir of the Nordic Beasts. 2 copies. When a monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to your grave, you can special summon this card from your hand. Once per turn, when this defense position card on the field is changed to face-up attack position, you can special summon a Nordic Beast from your deck in defense position, except this card. So, you're basically... So, again, not only is this a form of Cyber Dragon, but it's basically... It's basically a Rhoda, so to speak. So to speak, it's a Rhoda, because, funny enough... Because funny enough, these Tangrisnir, Tanjosnir, and I'll say Gulfat, Venatus, which is actually one of the cards that I had talked about. You can summon any of the 3 Nordic gods that you want. You can even also, which is kind of crazy, you can even go into something like Baron de Fleur, which is kind of crazy, which is pretty crazy. Next up, we have the other card that I had talked about that you can substitute for any tuner that you want to summon the Nordic gods, and that is none other than Golden Burst Sea of the Nordic Beasts. So its effect reads: For a synchro summon, you can substitute this card for any one Nordic tuner. You can only use each of the following effects of Golden Burst of the Nordic Beasts once per turn. If this card is normal special summon, you can special summon a Nordic monster from your hand. You can target one Nordic monster in your grave, except this card, add it to your hand. So not only is it a tuner substitute, which basically says that, but you can also just literally just Cyber Dragon one. You can basically just Cyber Dragon a Nordic monster from your hand, like right off the bat. What is going on? Oh, well, speaking of Shadow Realm, he actually just posted a video. Shoutouts to you. Shoutouts to Shadow Realm. Shoutouts to him. So as I was saying, not only is it a tuner substitute, but it's also a Cyber Dragon, meaning you can just Cyber Dragon a monster from your hand, and it's a Rhoda, which is really, really good. Like, you cannot go wrong with having 3 copies of this. Some people will probably say, "Oh, this card's better at 2, more resources." I don't know why people would say that, because this card is better off is more powerful at 3, because of the fact that you get more sources, which is absolutely awesome. Next up, we only have 1 copy of Gulfax of the Nordic Beasts, mainly just for the tuner. Just for the tuning mechanism, if you will. But the effect reads: if your opponent controls a synchro monster, and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it is like a Cyber Dragon, but obviously you're going to be having monsters on the field, so there's really no point in special summoning this card from your hand. You might as well just normal summon it. So yeah. Next up, we have 2 copies of Venatus of the Nordic Ascendant. This is the other card that this is the second card that I had talked about, which the first event is basically the same as Golden Bursty. For a synchro summon, you can substitute this card for any one Nordic tuner, but the other effects are different. If this card is used as synchro material, all of the synchro materials must be Nordic monsters. Once per turn, you can send 1 Nordic monster from your deck to the grave. This card's level becomes the level of that monster until the end of the turn. So what's cool about this is that if you were to go into, say, I'll say if you want to go into a play that gets you a card like I'll say Baron de Fleur. You activate Vanatis' effect, and you can send I'll say 10 Grisnier. Let's see that. So that'd be yeah. Okay, so you would send 10 Grisnier to the graveyard. Vanatis becomes level 3, but you would need to find ways to summon it, which there is little options, basically, to be honest. There's like who am I kidding? It's not little options. There's quite a few options that they can go into. So 3. So you would go Vanatis, Tyr, and 10 Grisnier, and you can summon Baroness de Fleur. You can summon Loki, any of the other Nordic gods. That's basically what it does. It can become any monster, and it can become the level of any monster that you sent to the graveyard. So it's like a Fool's Burial. So at this stage, you really don't care about Vanatis becoming a different level. All you care about is just using the Foolish Burial effect, which is pretty cool. And then to round out the Nordic monsters alone, we have two copies of Valkyrie of the Nordic Ascendant. This card is absolutely nuts. This card is just really good because its effect reads, this card is not treated as a Valkyrie card, which is actually kind of funny because of the Valkyrie archetype that we had gotten over the last couple years, if I remember correctly. But its effect reads, when this card is normal summon, if you're hang on guys, it's Tuesday. Trash people are here. Hang on. There we go. Anyway, as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by the trash people. When this card is normal summon, if your opponent controls a monster and you control no other cards, you can banish 2 Nordic monsters from your hand. Special summon 2. How do I pronounce that? Einherjar tokens, I believe is how it's pronounced. Which are 4-star Warrior Earth. Which are 4-star Earth Warrior with 1,000 attack and defense in defense position. So basically, this is another sort of like a combo star. Basically, so you have no cards on the field. Your opponent has a monster. You normal summon this. You banish two of your Nordic monsters. You get out 2 tokens. Boom. Odin comes out, or you can even also go into, as well, Baron de Fleur as well. And then for the hand traps, we have 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Ogre, and 2 Ghost Bell. Ash Blossom focuses on adding cards from your deck to your graveyard. Sorry. I take that back. Adding cards from the deck to the hand, special summoning from the deck, or sending cards from the deck to the graveyard. Ghost Ogre focuses on the on basically any card effect that your opponent activates, and then Ghost Bell focuses on focuses on the graveyard. So these 3 together are just absolutely nuts. They are really good together. You're not using these for the for their tuning mechanics. You're only using them for their effects, which is really cool. Moving on moving on into the spells, there's only 5 in the deck, which are the 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army, the 1 Monster Reborn, the 1 Called by the Grave, the lone copy of Rank Up Magic Quick Chaos, and then also the brand new Nordic Relic spell card, which is known as Nordic Relic. I'm gonna try and pronounce it. Liskalf? Liskalf. Nordic Relic Liskalf, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'm probably butchering it, so I do apologize. But the effect reads special summon 1 Nordic monster from your deck. So it's basically like a Rhoda, so to speak. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck while the summoned monsters face up on the field except easier monsters, meaning the 3 Nordic gods. You can banish this card from your grave, add a Nordic monster from your deck to your hand, and then shuffle 1 card from your hand into the deck. You can only use one Nordic Relic, Liskalf, I believe that's how it's pronounced, once per turn and only once that turn. So it's a hard once per turn, but you only need 1. That's the thing. You only need 1 copy. Really awesome card. Being able to just go into being able to get 1 step closer to going into your synchro plays is absolutely insane. So those are the only 5. Those are the only 5 spells that I have in the deck. Moving on into the traps, we have 3 copies of Waking the Dragon. Yes, this is basically the 1 card that can help you go into Cyber Dragon Infinity, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, Ally of Justice, Decisive Armor, even also a card like Access Code Talker, which all 3 of those cards are in the extra are actually in the side, which I'll explain why later on. Next up, for the Nordic Relics, we actually have 7 of them in the main deck. First up, we have Nordic Relic. We have Nordic Relic Brazen Gamin, which has the effect that says target 1 face-up monster you control and a face-up monster your opponent controls. The attack of the first target, meaning your monster, becomes equal to the original attack of the second target, meaning your opponent's, until the end of the turn. This is kind of like a much more revamped version of Shield and Sword, where the attack and defense is completely different from one another. That's what this is basically, which is really cool. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Nordic Relic Megan Jord, I believe is how it's pronounced. Target 1 Aesir or Nordic monster you control. Its attack and defense become double its original attack and defense until the end of the turn, but it cannot attack your opponent directly this turn. So if your opponent has a monster that's got 0 attack, let's just say that, and you have and you have Odin on the field, you activate this card, target Odin, it becomes 8,000. That's game. GG no Ri, hands down. It's done. Dunzo that way. Next up we have Nordic Relic Levitain, I believe is how it's pronounced, and it's basically a destruction card. So it's basically a trap hole. It's basically a trap hole which says target 1 face-up monster on the field that destroyed a monster by battle this turn, destroy it. Cards and effects cannot be activated in response to the card's activation. So this is basically your trap hole for the deck itself, which is just absolutely broken. Like, 1 effect, it's a trap hole. And then to round out the Nordic Relic traps, we have 2 copies of Nordic Relic Svalin. I believe that's how it's pronounced, and and its effect reads: if you control an easier monster, you can negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls until the end of the turn, even if this card leaves the field. You contribute one Nordic monster, then target an easier monster in your grave, special summon it. You can only use one effect once per turn, and only once that turn. So it is a hard once per turn. But what's cool about this is that this is an Omni Negate for the Nordic Gods, because this is basically your sort of like your Dark Ruler no more, so to speak, where all cards that your opponent has face up are completely negated. They can't use them at all, and the only way that they could bypass this is if they were to activate something like, I'll say a Ghost Ogre, which a lot of people nowadays a lot of people don't run Ghost Ogre because of the fact that there are multiple outs to Ghost Ogre. One of the biggest ones is obviously Called by the Grave, but another one that people forget, especially if they were running a fiend based deck, is Dark Smog, which is absolutely nuts. You can even also use Necro Valley as well. Mind Drain is another really good one that can stop hand traps. I was planning on running Mind Drain in this deck, but I didn't have any room, so unfortunately. But again, not only is this an Omni Negate, but it's also a Monster Reborn for the Nordic Gods, which is just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And then to round out the traps, we have 2 copies of Zing Zang Hu. This is basically this is another one of your floodgates for the whole deck, because its effect reads: activate by selecting 2 set spell or traps on the field. The selected spell or traps cannot be activated. So this would tie perfectly in combination with this Nordic Relic Svalin, because by activating both of these two, not only does Svalin negate all face-up cards on the field, but with Zing Zang Hu, two of your opponent's back row can't be used. It's a nice little old school 2-card combo. It's an old school two card combo with Zing Zang Hu, but it's a really good floodgate. And then to round out the whole deck itself, we have 2 copies of Solemn Warning. You don't want your opponent doing anything, so Solemn Warning does the trick. Moving on into the extra deck, we have the 3 Nordic Gods. We have 2 Odin, 2 Thor, and 1 Loki. Thor focuses on being basically what Odin does is this. Its effect reads: once per turn, you can make this card be unaffected by spell and trap effects until the end of the turn. This works in combination with the Nordic Relic Svalin and Zing Zang Hu. They can't do nothing. They essentially can't play Yu-Gi-Oh, which is absolutely nuts. Once per turn during the end phase, if this face-up card you controlled was destroyed by your opponent's card and sent to your grave this turn, you can banish 1 Nordic Ascendant Monster Tuner from your grave, special summon this card. When summoned this way, you can draw 1 card. So not only is this a spell canceller Jinzo, but it's also a excuse me. But it's also a Monster Reborn +1. So it's basically multiple effects in one. So Spell Canceller Jinzo. Spell Canceller, no spells can be activated. Jinzo, no traps can be activated. Monster Reborn, you summon back Odin at the cost of banishing one of your Nordic Ascendant tuners, which the only 2 are Venatus and Valkyrie. But keep in mind, Golem Bursty can also be treated as an Ascendant only when it's on the field, unfortunately. But I think you can also banish I believe you can banish Golden Bursty for Odin, if I remember correctly, because I did some extensive test playing, and if I remember right, I actually was able to banish Golden Bursty for Odin, which is actually kind of funny. Thor, on the other hand, has the effect where it reads, once per turn, you can negate the effect of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn. Once per turn, during the end phase, if this face-up card you controlled was destroyed by your opponent's card and sent to your grave, this turn you can banish one Nordic Beast tuner from your grave, special summon this card. If summoned this way, inflict 800 damage to your opponent. Loki has a real... Actually, his effect is actually kind of funny. No pun intended, because it reads, once per turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap during your battle phase as a quick effect, you can negate the activation and destroy it. It's basically a Solemn Judgment, which is pretty funny. Once per turn, during the end phase of this face-up card you control was destroyed by your opponent's card and sent to your grave this turn, you can banish a Nordic Alfar tuner from your grave, special summon this card. When summoned this way, you can target a trap in your grave, add that target to your hand. So with the second effect, with each of them, not only would you be able to draw a card, you would get a trap from your graveyard, and you get to inflict 800 damage to your opponent. It's damage pot of greed. It's essentially pot of greed with them. It's just absolutely nuts. Next up, we have the one copy of Baron de Fleur. This is basically your Omni Negate, because so to speak. So its effect reads, once per turn, you can target one card in the field, destroy it. It's like a trap. It could be a trapple, it could be an MSC, it could be whatever the fuck you want. Literally. Once while face up on the field, when a card or effect is activated as a quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. So it's a multi-destruction card, so to speak. You can only use the previous effect of Baron de Fleur once per turn. Once per turn during the standby phase, you can target a level 5 or a lower monster in your grave. Return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, special summon that monster. Yeah, you're not using it for that. You're literally not using it for that. You're using it for the first two. Destroy a card, negate activations. Solemn Judgment Trap Hole, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely nuts. Next up, we have the one copy of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. You're probably wondering, why am I running this card? Well, it works in conjunction with Cyber Dragon Infinity, and you guessed it, with Ring of Magic Quick Chaos, you guessed it, Silent Honor Arc is in the extra deck. So not only am I running Silent Honor Arc, but I'm also running Silent Honor Dark as well. So you would go Evaldi and Alvis, overlay into number 101, Silent Honor Arc, activate Quick Chaos, go into Silent Honor Dark, trigger Dark's effect, target one of your opponent's monsters, it becomes Dark's material, and the more materials you have, the more board wipes you'll have for Zeus, which is absolutely nuts. The funny thing about Silent Honor Dark is that in order for you to use its Monster Reborn life point gain effect, you would need to get Dark to be destroyed in battle. You would need to get destroyed and sent to the graveyard. So it would have to be either by battle or by card effect for to destroy Dark to gain that effect, which is unfortunate, but still it is pretty cool. But I believe what you can also do, I would say that I would say because if you go into Zeus, if Zeus were to be destroyed, technically speaking, Dark actually has technically has material. So if it were to be destroyed that way with Zeus, you can resurrect Dark, gain the life points, and be able to continue to absorb your opponent's materials, which is absolutely nuts. I could be wrong on that. If I am wrong, post in the comments below, because I'm not so sure on that. I believe you can, but still, those are the only 4 Xyz monsters that I'm running. For the links, we have the one Nightmare Unicorn, the one Nightmare Phoenix, and then the 3 copies of Golveg of the Nordic Ascendant. This is basically the main combo starter, the main starter to go into your Nordic God. So you can go Venatus, Golfax, and Tangrisnir and Tangosnir, and you basically have a Nordic God on the field. So this is basically the starter to go into your Nordic Gods. Moving on into the side deck, we have two copies of Nibiru. Basically, this is your Zeus. It's another board wipe. You can't go wrong with that. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This is basically your Waking the Dragon target. So a lot of people will say, "Oh, this card can't be used off of Waking the Dragon." Wrong, sir. Wrong, sir. Wrong, sir. Wrong, sir. You can. You can summon Dragoon off of Waking the Dragon. Is it funny? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. Can it be? Could it be negated? Absolutely. Absolutely. But if you can manage to summon Dragoon, you essentially just win because it's an Omni negate on board. And then, of course, Ally of Justice Decisive Armor. I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, why am I running Ally of Justice Decisive Armor? The card is no good. Well, if you guys read its effects, you will know how good the card is, how broken it is. Once per turn, if your opponent controls a face-up light monster or monsters, you can activate one of these effects. Select one set card your opponent controls and destroy it. Send one card from your hand to the grave to destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Send all cards in your hand to the grave to look at your opponent's hand and send all light monsters in their hand to the grave. Then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the total attack of the opponent's monsters sent to the grave. MST or Trapple Harpy's Feather Duster and Confiscation. That's basically what it is. The last effect where you can look at your opponent's hand and send all light monsters to the grave. It's a Confiscation revamped. Basically, that's how good the card is. And then, of course, Access Code Talker, another one of your Omni negates, if you will. Moving on into the side deck spells, we have Harpy's Feather Duster. Speaking of, we have 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 2 Forbidden Chalice, which is actually kind of a funny tech, because the effect reads target one face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn. That target gains 400 attack, but its effects are negated. This could work so well in conjunction with cards like Borlode Savage Dragon, pretty much anything that your opponent may have. That's some pretty spicy tech. And then, of course, 2 copies of Crossout Destinator. I know that just recently the price of the tins have dropped drastically. I was right. I was fucking right. This card, way too overhyped. I get it. It's a broken card. I get it. Way too overhyped. That's why my partners at Collector Store, big shout outs to them. If you guys have not checked out their online store, check them out. The link is in the description. Incredible store. I love them. I love Collector Store. Incredible. But when I first got the tins, I actually have 2 of them. See? I actually have 2. These tins cost me $30 when I first got these earlier this month. The price went down within like a couple weeks to like $25. Now they're only $20, which I can't say I'm surprised. I will be getting two. I will be getting two more, and probably opening up those two. I have no fucking clue. But yeah, basically, the price went down drastically to $20 because of the fact that Crossout Designator has dropped in price, which is kind of funny. And then with Crossout Designator, basically what I'll read its effects to you guys for those who have never seen it before. Declare one card name, banish one of that declared card from your main deck, and if you do, negate its effects as well as the activated effects and effects on the field of cards with the same original name until the end of this turn. So basically, it's a way to prevent Nibiru from happening, so to speak, which is really cool. And then to round out the entire deck itself, we have 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence, and then the 1 Solemn Strike. So overall, I love this deck. Excuse me. Being able to just automatically go into your Nordic Gods turn 1 or turn 2, depending on who goes first, is just absolutely nuts. So that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, hang on, guys. My address will be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.